Sports stories from the 419 in Northwest Ohio, brought to you by a voice you know. It's time to go around the area and around the Hearn.
Greetings and welcome to a new edition of Around the Hearn. High school football getting started. We'll get to that in just a second, but a heavy heart in Northwest Ohio tonight with the passing of Coldwater senior Cale Wenning. Passed away after injuries he suffered in an accident last week. His mom, Jessica Barr, posting, Cale decided to fly high today. My mama heart is bleeding. Please respect all of us and give us time. We were trying to wait until we got to my mom, and someone already posted it. I'll never be able to fill the empty space in my heart, but I'm sure going to try to fill his shoes. Courage, love, and so much more. It's not goodbye. It's see you later. The unfortunate news of Cale passing has pretty much done what it normally does in Northwest Ohio, because I'm so proud to be from this area, and there's already a handful of ways that people in the community want to try to honor this amazing young man. And one of those ways is Friday night. If you're hearing this before your football game, I implore you to join this cause. I myself will be doing it. I thought it was such a neat thing of wearing orange and black. It's a simple thing, but it doesn't matter what your student section was going to do or what you were going to wear to the game. If you get a chance, you've got some orange, you've got some black, it'd be a good night to wear it for high school football and for this terrific young man who passed away far too early. Football seeming kind of secondary, but what is the part of what this show is this week is football coaches. Bo Frye, the St. Mary's Rough Riders, Brennen Bader from Celina, Ken Schriner of Autumn Glandorf, Frank Russell from Bath, and Zach Turner from Kenton, who are all getting ready to play their first game on Friday night to kick off in Northwest Ohio. Will be on the show. You'll hear from each one of those individuals in just a few. High school football, though, kicked off on Thursday night around the area for three local teams. Columbus Grove winning the Z Sports Live Bowl 35-7. They were up 35-0. Pandora Bowl got a late touchdown to freeze the running clock. Bulldogs just had their way with a lot of this game. It was down on the sideline, doing sideline for Z Sports Live and WZOQ Radio, and it was fascinating to kind of watch. I mean, Grove, who lost some from last year, they bring back a ton of talented players like Kylan Mays, and they got just every big play in that ball game. Pandora Bowl, I think, will be a good team. Just really didn't gel. They've got a 3-year starting quarterback, a nice running back core, but Grove was all over. Douglas Jefferson. How about this? Alan Pullman, the head coach in his first career game at Douglas Jefferson, wins 33-0 over North College Hill out of Cincinnati. And in a running clock fashion, he gets that win. 33 points was also enough for Shawnee, as they got their first win since October of 2021. Shane Wireman, the new head coach, beats Lima Central Catholic 33-19 up at the stadium in Lima. Speaking of Grove, Lauren Achmoody, shout out to her, the Columbus Grove sharpshooter and future Findlay Oiler, scored 3 goals on Saturday, including her 100th career goal in a win over Corey Rawson. All she's got to do to break the Putnam County record is score 69 more goals this season. Alex Huffle from Continental, who went on to play at Ohio Northern, 5th most in OHSAA history, and she's got to score about 100 to become the all-time leading goal scorer for the young ladies in the state of Ohio. Speaking of goal scorers, McKenna Seifker had a pair of goals to run her career total to 85. She's trailing the Autumn Glandorf record, less than 10 to go after a 4-0 win to get back on track a couple of nights ago against Findlay. Boys soccer saw Ada beat New Knoxville. Ada girls beat Crestview 3-0. Golf this week had Parkway beating Marion Local. Boys golf had St. Henry beating Coldwater by a shot at the Mercer County Elks. Wapak Canetta beat Defiance. Fort Recovery beat New Bremen. Van Wert beat Bath. Volleyball has been hot and heavy early on. Findlay beat Wapak 3-1. New Bremen in a matchup of Elite 8 teams from last year beat Crestview 3-1 last night. Douglas Jefferson beat Bath 3-2. Liberty Benton held off Columbian 3-2, and that was one that didn't get done until after 10 o'clock. Big week for Malia Romez and Kalida. beating Antwerp 3-0, and Delphus Jefferson 3-0. Lima Senior beating Spencerville 3-0, and the Bearcats. Next Saturday night, you can hear it on Z Sports 3, have got a challenge in front of them. They go to Shawnee, but something a little bit different. They're going to play on a volleyball court outdoors on Shawnee's football field. Coldwater Cavalier girls beat Fort Loramie to win the finals of the Coldwater Spike-Off this past weekend. At Cavs jumping out to a 4-0 record after another big win a couple of nights ago. Women's college soccer saw Defiance shut out by St. Francis 4-0 in their opener. But volleyball lost, came back to salvage their opening weekend by winning 3 straight. And Bluffton University hired St. Mary's grad Clay Quellhorst as their interim golf coach on the men's side this past week. Just a little bit of a look of some things going on across Northwest Ohio in the next couple of days, but there is a heavy load of high school football taking place on a Friday night because you've got those non-league matchups that really kind of help dictate the early part of the season. See exactly how a lot of these games turn out. But the WBL, I mean, you've got Celina and Columbus South, Defiance, Napoleon, Elida, Toledo, Rogers, Kenton and Eastwood, OG and LB, St. Mary's, St. Henry, which you can hear on K94. Friday night starting at 6:30. Van Wert, Bryan, Wapakoneta, and Toledo St. John Jesuit. The MAC's got a heavy schedule of heavy hitters. Coldwater, who will have Valley View, Anna, Indian Lake, St. John's, Sidney Lehman Catholic, which has a new traveling trophy that I hope to tell you some more about as I get the information. Fort Recovery against Wayne Trace. Marion Local goes to Indiana to take on Linton Stockton. Minster, Fort Loramie, Parkway, Crestview. Versailles, Milton Union. NWC. It's got Allen East taking on Toledo Scott. Bluffton, Ben Logan, Spencerville, and Ridgemont. That's on Z Sports Live 3. Ada, Upper Scioto Valley kicks off the BVC. Arcadia, Corey Ross, and Arlington against Hardin Northern. Lipstick and Lake, Macomb, and Kip Columbus. Elmwood, Evergreen, Riverdale, Bucyrus, and Van Buren, and Fostoria. The games in the area, a lot more about that next week. We've got a terrific guest lined up for the show coming out next week, and a new University of Toledo Rocket. Talk to him about going into his season, why he decided, he being Seth Elkert, he's pretty good, to become a UT Rocket. But coming up here in just a few, Bo Frye, Brennan Bader, Ken Schriner, Frank Russell, and Zach Turner. It's kind of a WBL preview with some coaches here on Around the Hearn.
McSober's in Coldwater has been a staple of the area for years. Located in the Coldwater Mall in Coldwater, it's considered Mercer County's #1 sports and entertainment venue. And there's a good reason why. They have a wide range of top-line HD TVs, including a 10-foot by 10-foot HD projection screen bar front. Entertainment every Friday and Saturday. And don't forget to add them on Twitter and like them on Facebook to get all of their amazing drink and food specials. McSober's in Coldwater. Best of luck to all the boys and girls area fall teams on their postseason runs. And if you mention this spot from the Sports Corner Show, you'll pick up 20% off dine-in orders.
A program a little near and dear to me in St. Mary's, and now fourth-year head coach Bo Frye. You've pretty much gone from being a freshman now all the way up to the senior guy. How are you feeling about going into your fourth year? I mean, you've kind of settled in from a routine aspect, I would think.
Oh, 100%. I think that the job never gets any easier, but being 4 years into it, you understand how to manage your time appropriately. And the kids that we have in our program right now, they've been with me and with us for the entire way. I was just joking with Colton Mabry the other day that, hey, you and I are both on our fourth year together, man. We started at the same time. So it's real neat to see the growth of the kids in the 4 years.
I know now that won't mean anything, but I mean, you got to feel like at some point, hopefully about 17 weeks from now, maybe that'll set in a little bit of, oh, wow, my entire first full class is gone.
Yeah, and this is a special group of seniors in the first place because there's 21 of them that are still with us. And the kids have bought into me and bought into us and bought into the program. And they're almost like second sons to me. So I'm very lucky, and like I said, with this senior group, and I want the best thing for them right now, and that's to win. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure they win for them. But yeah, they're a great group, and it's a neat experience.
Well, it's got to be nice because at least your sons you can give back. You have daughter problems, that one's just kind of on you.
Yeah, I got to keep my daughters, but no, I love my daughters too. So, but like I said, this program, my daughters live out there with me, so they know a lot of these kids. Their girlfriends babysit my daughters, and it's just like it's a neat little homey family experience here, being the head coach with the family.
Well, I mean, and obviously with something we're going to talk about kind of later in the season about being 20 years removed from going to state, you have a lot of that same group because obviously you've got dad, you're able to bring your kids and your wife around being around that program, but you've surrounded yourself with a lot of those guys who are successful, know, and love the program. To me, from the outside, I don't know how it feels for you, but it's a really neat little homegrown dynamic for you guys.
No, it's really awesome. Like I said, it's very few people get to go to work with their family and their friends every day, and I get to. Is it always rainbows and butterflies? Heck no. But it's the best thing for us. And like I said, with my staff and the guys, those are my friends. I said if I want to do something on the weekends, I'm going to call them. I'm not going to call anybody else. But it's a very homey feel, a very friendly feel, and honestly, most of the time at practice, we're having fun, and you better, if you're going to do this, you better do it with people that you enjoy doing it with.
We talk a lot, but for a lot of people, maybe give them a little bit of an insight. You start out 0-4 last year. Things just kind of go awry in week number one. It just, plays were there, just kind of oddities. St. Henry broke down. They had a couple of big plays. Celina, Defiance, and Wapak. I mean, you go through that. How much stronger do you personally come out on the other side?
Personally, as a coach, I feel like I grew more last year than any other year in the business. Sometimes you got to go through the hard to get to the good. And our kids have worked because they're doing everything in our power. I'm doing everything in my power to never go through a month of losses. That was miserable for my family. That was miserable for me. That was miserable for the kids. And we don't ever want to go back through that again. So we are fighting every day to make sure that doesn't ever happen again.
Week 5 last year in Ottawa, early on in that game, they get that big 65-yard run. Their quarterback just runs right down the center of the field. Is there a time, did you kind of, hey, I know we're better than this. We've worked on this. This isn't going to be 5 in a row. Was it something you had to say to the kids, or did they just kind of figure it out themselves where they went ape for like 4 touchdowns in a row?
No, there really wasn't much you can say. Sometimes in the game of football, it's just got to have to click. You can preach to your blue in the face at times, but until it actually clicks, there's not a whole lot you can do from the sidelines. We can put them in the best position, but honestly, the kids are the ones that play the game. And honestly, I felt like losing in week 1 last year, we lost some confidence, and we needed confidence, and I think we've got that back.
You had a little bit of the board everywhere. You guys sneak one out with Van Wert where you win by 2 at home. You blow out Shawnee, you blow out Kenton, you blow out Elida and Bath kind of in that row before you get to the playoffs. Is there, I mean, does it matter to you, hey, win ugly or win big, just as long as you get the job done? Is that kind of how you look at that?
There's one goal every week, and it's win. I don't care how we do it, how we have to do it. But in our program in St. Mary's, we want to win. And if you're not winning, you can talk about everything about we're building a brotherhood, building a bond, and all that sort of jazz. But it's not fun unless you're winning, to be honest with you. So, no, it doesn't matter how you do it. A win's a win is a win.
Beat Wauseon, get to Perkins. You guys are up at various points in that game. There's kind of for people who were there, an oddity of what happens in the last 5 or 10 seconds right before the half. I can tell you from experience that the gentlemen upstairs were maybe trying to will that clock down to 0. Those kind of games are dogfights. You talk about, they're more fun when you win, but do you take anything away from that? I mean, going into the locker room has to be hard because of what that group accomplished of just maybe take a second before you go in to talk to them?
Yeah, I always try to take a second, but I have a lot. Like I said, I have a great staff around me that helps guide some of the words that come out of my mouth. But in the grand scheme of things, I think it was a game that launched us into our off season. It burned in my belly. It burned in our kids' belly. That gone, we should have won that thing. And since that point, every single kid, every single senior, every single junior, every single sophomore has committed to this, and it's been a very committed off season and a very committed summer. One of the best in my 4 years as a coach.
I know that it doesn't mean a ton. You guys moved from D4 to D3. You've kind of been a floater the last handful of years where it's one or the other. You drag along the way that the numbers come out a lot of teams that either you're familiar with, Celina, Defiance, Wapak, you get OG Van Wert. I mean, does it even matter to you, or would you rather be surrounded by teams that you don't know because then maybe they don't know you?
I don't know. Honestly, in the whole grand scheme of things, Division III and Division IV, it really all depends on the year. And WBL teams, we all know each other. So would you rather not play a WBL team in the playoffs? Probably not. But back in 2018, when we made our run, we played Van Wert for a second time in the playoffs. When you're good, you're good. So when it's clicking, it's clicking. So it's really less about the opponent and more about ourselves.
Flip of what it was last year, where it was 4 away games in the first 5. You guys are pretty much home for the first month of the season. St. Henry, Celina, Wapak, and OG. You know you're in for big games every night. With the scrimmages you guys have had, how do you feel like you're prepared to start the season in 6 days?
Well, I'll be honest with you. We stacked this scrimmage schedule up. We went with Pickwa first, who Coach Neese I know real well, and he's a physical, old school coach. I wanted to get smacked in the mouth here in the scrimmages, so we can figure out where our problems are going into the season, and then obviously going with Marion Local and Fort Laramie. You know that you're getting the best of the best when you play those guys. So they're going to expose your weaknesses quick, and it prepares you because we still have a week to fix what we didn't do right.
It's crazy because a lot of people will maybe pick a medium-sized dog and try to go at it. You guys went to the absolute biggest dog you could find, and then you went to their house to try to prepare yourself. Did anybody pretty much tell you might be insane across the line?
No, insanity. I like insanity, man. But in the whole grand scheme of things, you rather play those guys when it doesn't count. But if you want your weaknesses exposed, you better do it before the season starts, or else someone's gonna expose it, and then you're gonna be on sprint mode to try to fix it. And like I said, we have 6 days to make sure this ship's rolling in the right direction. So when we rolling home this year against St. Henry, the same problems that showed up against, say, the Marion Locals of the world aren't showing up against St. Henry.
Well, it's funny because I've heard coaches before say, "Yo, we want to win everything every day," and it just really doesn't seem like a realistic thing.
Oh, we're trying to win those scrimmages. don't crap yourself here, but at the same time, you also are happy when they don't count when you don't.
You see the WBL, kind of the way it's gone. Traditionally, it's been you guys at the top for a while. It's been Celina and Wapak. Overall, with Van Wert kind of in between. When you look at the way the league finished out last year, how do you kind of see with what teams have coming back what it might be this year?
The league is loaded from top to bottom. There is no bad team in the league this year. Every week, day in, day out, we're going to have to work, and we're going to have to earn everything we get. It won't be easy. But like I said, we have a lot of kids returning. We have a lot of kids that I truly enjoy being around. We use the word love. I really do love this group of kids. So it's going to be a dogfight, but we are going to make sure that we're in the best position every week to win football games.
I know it's a little bit different because you guys played St. Henry last year, and they had a lot of young guys, especially on their skill positions, of being able to return and, all right, being able to maybe pick a little bit from their scrimmage this year or look at that because they've got that new coaching staff. But is week 1 the hardest of your schedule? I mean, to just straight prepare for, because you're more blind than maybe what you are through the course of the year?
Yeah, I think I learned from a coach a long time ago that you really don't know who you are as a football team until week 3. But because, like I said, because of our scrimmage schedule, it helps us figure out who we are to that point. But yes, going back to St. Henry, they're a MAC school. I mean, and anytime you play a MAC school, those kids, anything they're coached to do by their coach, they're going to do. So that means we have to be so fundamentally sound that we can put our guys in the right position to win.
Outside of working and being around the kids and putting in this work to get to week 1, is there something that you're just absolutely hyped for about the atmosphere or about what it is when you guys finally see that clock hit 0 and you're ready for week 1?
What I'm hyped for, I'm hyped for I'm always hyped. Have you ever seen me not hyped? That's how I live life. I don't like to sit around and watch Mosey in and that sort of jazz. I mean, it's not fun. But what I'm hyped for is our seniors, because like I said, those kids have given me everything and then some that I can ask for. So like I said, I'm hyped to see those kids succeed and have success on the football field and then later on in life.
Well, I am absolutely hyped to be able to be around your program again, and thank you for all the help. I'm looking forward to being able to talk all the way into December.
100%, Mike. We love having you around, man. And like I said, anything that we can do, we're going to do to make this thing the best it can possibly be.
Are you in Spencerville and looking for a place to eat before the Bearcats play? Well then, head to my place, 128 North Broadway, for deep-fried mushrooms, chili cheese fries, the best pie around, and soup of the day. If you're in a hurry and just want to order some to go, you can give Doug and his staff a call at 419-647-4062, and they'll have it ready for you. My Place Restaurant at 128 North Broadway in Spencerville, a proud supporter of Bearcat Athletics.
2 years ago, Bath was 0-10. Last year, they're 4-7, and a big reason for that, a new, now second-year head coach, Frank Russell, and nice enough to spend some time with me. I want to ask you, what was the big magic or what was the turnover for a lot of those same kids for you to come in and go, we need to change this, and then for that to actually happen with that team?
Well, I think we simplified things. We just said, hey, that like our number one goal on our team, if you ask any of our players, they're just going to tell you we want to get better every single day. And that's exactly what we try to do. We take day by day, try to stack days and get better as we're moving forward.
You guys go 3-6 in the league. League was just a banger last year that it pretty much you had to be great in every single game. Was there a moment in one of those games that kind of stands out to you of, okay, here's maybe what we know we can fix, or maybe here's where I know that next year we can be even better at this?
Well, I thought we were competitive in every game. There was one game I felt like we were not very competitive at. I felt like against Canetta, we just weren't very competitive. Every other game, I thought we were competitive with a lot of guys. We started a lot of underclassmen. We turned over 20 letter winners, and we're super excited with the guys we got coming back. We got playmakers at every position. We're super happy about that, and it's just, if we focus on getting better every day and doing our jobs and doing the little things right, I think we can fix some of the things, a lot of the problems that we had last year.
I remember looking at it going into week 5 when you guys have Elida. You're sitting 2-2. You had maybe the most bipolar first month of the season. You have that big 7-point win against New Bremen. You have the overtime win with Shawnee, the 4-point loss with Kenton. But then a game that took about 6 hours with Van Wert. I mean, did that just seem crazy to you once you got to the middle of September?
Well, we obviously we really like some of our playmakers on offense. Defensively, we struggled at times, and it has been a little bit of a struggle. But I feel like the guys are buying in to what we're doing. They truly believe. We were trying to learn how to win. It's tough going to Van Wert. They opened this new stadium. We're making plays offensively. Defensively, we didn't do that. But we were young. We started about 10 sophomores on both sides of the ball. So it's kind of like, there's going to be growing pains. And so we tried. We tried to work through that. We did the best we could. I thought our kids continued to fight, and I was proud of them for that. But I feel like our program is on. We're on the upslide. So,
Well, I think it's one of those things too, because it was not without you guys giving everything. At Defiance loss is a tough loss, obviously on the road at Fred Brown Stadium is a hard place to win. But when you go back and you look at it, a lot of the teams that people will talk about, I mean, Celina and Van Wert, you guys put up almost 80 points on them during the course of the year. It wasn't as if you weren't able to move the football, just kind of dumb things happen, I guess.
Every time we play, we really want to be physical and we want to be tough. And those two, couple games, like I felt like for 3 quarters at Defiance, we didn't show up defensively. We were not very tough. Like we let them out tough us. At Celina in the second half, we didn't come out and play with the same intensity that we played in the first half. Sometimes you just got to go out and play the game. You can't believe the press clippings.
When you go into this year being a little bit different with kind of moving from Cincinnati to Lima and things, I would imagine maybe a lot different in that aspect of how is this offseason different for you personally?
It's we have not, since I've been at Bath, since I took over the job, we've never done anything except try to get better every single day. So as a coaching staff, we evaluate players. We're evaluating what we want to do with our schemes. And that's all we do every single day is how can I get better? Well, how can I help our team win? Now, has there been a ton of culture stuff? There's no doubt about it. Like, the culture is losing mentality versus winning mentality. And I always steal a Nick Saban quote when I say, "Hey, it takes what it takes. Whatever you got to do as a player, you just have to do it. There's non-negotiables. If you want to win, it's what it takes."
When you look at your offense, obviously you're not big, but one guy that sticks out and plays huge, one of my favorite offensive weapons in the area, and I really don't think enough people are paying attention to Mikey Hale. 1,000 yards last year as a sophomore. What is it about him that just is so special?
Well, up front, I feel like we're pretty big up front. And then Mikey he just has a feel for the game. And I told someone, I don't remember who I spoke to earlier, but I told them, like, this is him really not bought into an off-season workout. This year, he's bought into everything we've done. His body is WBL ready. So I'm just super excited to see what he can do this year.
Coaches talk a lot about being able to kind of take more from losses of, yes, we can work on, what we need to be better on. But with that long bus ride last year in the playoffs to Glenville, when you're around that type of program, I mean, are you able to maybe either during the course or afterwards or on the way home or whatever, kind of extrapolate anything from maybe what they do of, okay, I might be able to work this in with our culture?
I feel like that we're on the right path, and we really focus on like what we're trying to accomplish. We played with them for a quarter and a half, and I felt like that we if we were just a little maybe tougher, man, we could have been right there. We missed some opportunities that we had, didn't take advantage of them, but I feel like we've made a lot of strides since then. Kind of like what I said, we return a lot of letter winners that are just primed, ready to play varsity football.
6 of them on the defensive end, and one team that is normally pretty tough. You guys open up on the road in New Bremen in just a couple of weeks. I mean, you kind of expect that's going to be a tone setter of smash mouth football, I would think, that night.
2 years ago, they're state champs. They struggled a little bit last year. They got a great coaching staff. So we know without a doubt on August 23rd, it's going to be a dogfight. So we're trying to prepare as best we can. We got a ton of respect for that program and what they've done. And, we want to be at where they're at. No doubt.
I know that it's a rotating schedule, but you guys might have the oddest schedule with the way that everything falls this year. You never go 2 in a row anywhere. You literally have, if you have an away game in week 1, you have a home game in week 2, and so far. I mean, is that good, bad? Does it matter at this point?
We always talk about, hey, it doesn't matter. We'll play wherever. We're going to do whatever it takes. Just get better.
What's the one big thing that sticks out to you going into, you've had 2-a-days now, you get done with that, of this is the thing that people are going to know about Bath, whether it's the beginning, the middle, or the end of the season?
We're super excited. Our kids are bringing great energy. It's been a fun 2-a-days. We're super excited to represent Bath Township, and we just hope they come out and follow us.
Well, thank you so much. I hope you guys have a tremendous season.
I appreciate you very much. Thanks a lot.
That's Frank Russell looking at Bath. We'll talk more about the Western Buckeye League when we come back. Hey, you! Are you struggling to stay awake in the morning? Do you just need a jump start to your day? Then you need to find some Revision Espresso coffee from the Rubato Coffee Lab in Columbus Grove. Launched in April of 2019, Rubato Coffee is fueled by a passion for outstanding coffee, held by the owner and head roaster in Aaron Bremer. No matter what type of coffee you're looking for, RubatoCoffeeLab.com has it. Can't make a choice? Check out their sample pack. Rubato Coffee Lab in Columbus Grove. Made by locals who care about you and your coffee. Talking to Ottawa Glandorf football now, coming off a 1-9 season a season ago, an anomaly for head coach Ken Schriner. And Ken, one other kind of different thing with these new divisional alignments, I mean, you guys moving to Division 4, does that mean anything to you, or is it just we're just going to line up and try to hit LB in the mouth and what happens from there?
We saw it. Everybody sees it, but that's not a concern of ours. After a 1-9 season, we realize there are no guarantees. You don't get into playoffs when you're not winning games. So we got to go out and win one game at a time, the old cliche. And, hopefully we're much improved over last year. And, we're going to find out in a hurry with our schedule.
Last year opens up with Eastwood. I mean, a team that ends up 9-3. You go on the road. You have a 3-point battle with them. Before you go into that Kenton game with some pieces that you kind of had to move around, how were you feeling going into week 2 about maybe how the season was going to be?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we feel competitive. We feel like we can compete. And if you look at, for the most part in our schedule, and if you look back at our games, and I know that Kenton game, the score got way out of hand towards the end of the game, but we were competitive in most games. There were a couple of them that got out of the hand, but our guys are going out and hitting, and for us right now, we're happy to have grown up. Our young guys that have played, got their lumps the past couple of years. They spent their time. They got a little bigger and stronger in the off season, and hopefully they're going to be ready to play football.
4 of your last 5 games last year are within 7 points. You win one of those against Shawnee. Can you take, with some of the guys you have coming back, some of that and go, see, when we executed certain things that we planned on all year, we can be in these games, so now maybe we can win those games this year?
No doubt about it. That's really the tale of our whole season, is not executing the things that we had practiced, not executing the things that we had planned. And, that's kind of football. That's, as a coach, when you put your career on the line for a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid, sometimes things go awry. And I think that's kind of how things went last year. But again, this year our kids are working hard, and they're being physical. They're playing with intensity, and I think they want to make a change to what happened.
You look at the WBL, and a lot of people will talk about, some years it's great, some years it's good, some years it's okay. But, I mean, looking at your schedule, there's no, hey, we get a couple of weeks off here, a couple of weeks off there. What is it about the WBL, kind of the way it's grown up and becoming such a league of, man, can we just get one easy week?
Well, I think the coaching in the WBL is outstanding. I think, some of the teams that have been down have really worked hard to get good quality coaches in there. And, the assistant coaches do a tremendous job as well. And, last year, if you look at the league, I think it was as tough as any time I've been here. And, teams were playing everybody tough, top to bottom. And, it was a dogfight every Friday night. I honestly don't know if I've ever felt like a game was an easy win coming in as long as I've been here. But, we know our schedule's tough. We know that we've got to remain healthy, and you've got to go out and compete every Friday night when you're given the opportunity.
I know that success has been a thing in your now quarter century at OG. Was last year hard for you as the coach, or was it hard for you to see the hard work of those kids maybe not necessarily rounding the corner the way you hoped?
I don't know if there's an either or. I think it's hard on everybody involved. I think our coaches took it extremely hard. I think our kids took it extremely hard. And I'll say this, I feel like we as coaches worked hard, as hard, if not harder, at what we've done to prepare our kids and to prepare on a weekly basis to put a game plan together than we ever did. So, for whatever reason, things didn't work out. And, that's what happens every Friday night. 50% of all teams that are playing lose games. And unfortunately, that happened to us way too much last year.
You start with an LB team that's got a Toledo commit in Seth Elkert. Does it kind of start with him of, all right, maybe if we slow him down, we can do some other things defensively?
Well, we realize they're going to get the ball to him any way they can. And I don't know the first names, but he's got a twin brother in the backfield that's pretty doggone good as well. We haven't really seen them yet. We're still remain to find a way to scout them. But we realize that, when you've got a guy on the edge that's got a D1 offer, you better be concerned about him. So we realize he's going to be one to watch. But, there are 10 other guys that got to perform on the field, and, you got to put them all together. So it's going to be a big challenge for us. We realize this is a new opponent for us. We're expecting a huge crowd here at our place. We figure their fans are going to come over and, support them. Our fans are going to support us, and it's going to be a great atmosphere for football, and hopefully we can find a way to get a big win.
I mean, there's that always fun LB versus OG rivalry. It doesn't matter what the sport is or what the stakes are.
Absolutely. I've only been a fan. I've seen, on the basketball courts, both girls and guys. I've seen volleyball compete against them as well. And, there's always that extra edge. So we brought it to the football field and, a little extra pressure, but we're excited to be part of it.
You've gone through two-a-days. You're going through scrimmages. What is it about this team that you feel like, all right, if we can just tweak this a little bit, if we can get a little bit better here, we can be a pretty competitive ball club?
We're still in the middle of it, so I think you got to tweak everything and make it better. We're doing a lot of film work. We had an opportunity to compete last Saturday against Perrysburg, and we're going to watch that film with the kids and break it down and hopefully make some changes, some adjustments of things that we feel like we're not doing right. But, we've got so many things, and, here we are. We've got really a week and a half to prepare for the LB game. We've got another scrimmage on Friday with St. Henry. So, the challenge for your kids is to go out and compete every opportunity. And that means practice. That means game. It means scrimmage. It means every time you put the pads on. So that's our goal. I think our kids understand that, we had to make a change to what we've done the past couple of years. And I think we're doing that right now. And again, we're going to be ready to go.
I heard a coach talk about this the other day, and I want to ask you as a guy who's been around. Teams are going to multiple team scrimmages where 2, 3, or 4 teams, 2 has always been the way things have gone. But do you like that kind of change where you kind of get to see different looks, or is it, man, that's a lot for these kids to try to process at once?
There's a lot of different ways. We've done that in the past. My only thing is I would prefer an even number because you hate when you're the team that sits around and watches. But, come scrimmage time, I like our scrimmage setup. We've been with Perrysburg a long time. Perrysburg's had a lot of success, so it's a chance for us to go out and compete against a big school program. And, then St. Henry, who's going to argue with the success of St. Henry over the years? They've got a lot of big athletes, a lot of big kids down there. They're always fast. They're always physical. And, that's going to be a challenge for us as well. So I wouldn't change that. I think I like what we do, but I can see some validity to adding teams to your scrimmage just to see a number of things, but it doesn't fit with what we want.
When you walk out there now, you walk out with the white and the blue and the gold every Friday night, whether you're home at Titan Stadium or on the road, do you still get that special feeling right before kickoff?
Absolutely. If I wouldn't, I wouldn't do it. It's a great feeling. I love being around the kids. I love watching the kids grow. I love working with my coaches. I think we've got a great bond with our coaching staff, and it's still a lot of fun for what we do. And you still get the butterflies, but in my opinion, there's nothing better than the lights on a Friday night, no matter where you're at.
WBL is stacked with a lot of great individual performers this year, with a lot of teams. Kind of when you look at your guys, I know 11 has one. A lot of people talk about if this guy doesn't do his job, but do you have 1 or 2 guys that you feel like potentially could be standouts that maybe people aren't paying enough attention to?
That's not really a concern of mine. I think we've got to melt together. We've got to find a way to get ways to compete and make sure we put everything together, offensive and defensively. We've got a number of guys that are back as starters that I can mention: Grant Evers, Vinny Brinkman, Peyton Kuhlman, Ethan Metzger. Those are guys that started for us last year, and they've been through the battle, and we have hope that we can lean on them a little bit when things get tough. We've got linemen that are back as well. We've got Austin Haley and Hayden Kaufman are back on the line of scrimmage for us as well. So, we've got guys that are back with a lot of experience. We just hope they grow up, and, this is their time to shine.
Hey, I knew the answer to the question before I asked it, but I thought I'll take a shot.
Good luck.
How do you break the game down as an old lineman, as the saying goes? Do you look at it? Do you maybe when you break down the film, do you start with the trenches and work your way outward, or are you able to kind of look at the all 22 and work your way in?
To me, it always starts up front. I'm, as you called me, an old lineman. I'm an old guy, no doubt about it. But I watch
meant
film
that in the
and
nicest
see
possible way, of course.
I know. I don't believe you. Just kidding. That's for me is the line of scrimmage wins ball games. Both offensively and defensively, and that's what I enjoy is the chess match of what goes on up front to see how teams adjust. And sometimes in the middle of the game, we've been in some tough battles, and teams have made adjustments, and we've had to adjust as well. And honestly, if you're not adjusting during the game, you're making a mistake because your opponent is doing some things to change and be successful. So you've got that challenge always ahead.
Outside of the work you guys are putting in, what's the hardest thing about the next 11 days of just waiting until 7 o'clock on the 23rd?
Well, we start school. We haven't started school yet, but next week we start school. Right now we've got the kids are free. We're done with two-a-days. I'm in the office, so kind of getting my brain wrapped around what's going to go on during the school year, and still find a way to prepare for football. But we've got a lot of challenges ahead. We want to make sure that we continue to grow, to continue to improve. I've been around for a long time, and I realize the most improvement shows up between 1 and 2. And we had a scrimmage last Saturday, and our next scrimmage number 2 is this Friday. So we're looking for major improvement between 1 and 2. So that's our goal right now, is to get better every day.
Well, I hope you get a little bit of peace and quiet in your office for the next week, and I hope you guys come out and make some noise during the season.
Appreciate it. Go Titans.
That's Ken Schriner and a look at Ottawa Glandorf football. The Red Pig Inn at 1470 North Perry Street in Ottawa has been serving the area award-winning ribs for over 50 years. But the Red Pig is so much more than ribs, with their diverse menu including fish, steaks, burgers, and pizza. The patio is now open for parties or just to hang out with your friends. You can also book your Titan trolley trips at the Red Pig. And the WZOQ Zoo Crew show returns on Wednesdays, as well as select Lady Titan soccer and volleyball games on the big screen. The Red Pig Inn, 1470 North Perry Street in Ottawa. 419-696-1002. Not all that far from here, the Kenton Wildcats and head coach Zach Turner coming off a 3-7 year. You guys haven't won back-to-back games since 2020, but it felt like you were in position to do that a couple of times last year. What really kind of changed for you guys as you were in those close games and almost with them pulling out?
Well, I think our kids are learning how to compete. The one thing, Michael, I've really taken a step back and looked at is, and I use this analogies, when you kind of work for a company for a while, and you work your way up in that company and, you're doing well, right? And then all of a sudden you get promoted and then you become the CEO and you think, now that I'm CEO, everything's going to work out fine and all this kind of stuff. And you maybe lose sight or you don't quite have everything figured out. You got to really take a step back and look at it. And that's kind of where I was 2 years ago. And I realized that, the things that, Coach Mock and Coach Fackler and all those great coaches we've had here they built really good behaviors in our kids. And they understood how to compete. They understood how to do the little things. They understood what it was to be a Kenton football player. And we just didn't have that. We didn't have that competitive edge to us. So, we really worked on, finding things to compete in the, athletic or in the weight room, in the athletic field, whatever it was. We were going to compete, and we were going to keep score, and we were going to look at things, and we're really going to push our kids to raise that intensity level and that competitiveness in them. And I thought we did an okay job of that last year, and it's helped us compete in some games, and of course won a couple games, but it's not to the standard of what a Kenton football program is or where it should be. So we're continuously trying to raise that standard and raise the bar within our kids so we get back to what the standard of a Kenton football program is.
The middle of your early part of the season where you guys beat OG and then you lose that close one with Elida, pull out the one against Bath. Was there something you were able to kind of see there of, all right, the wheels are turning. I feel like they're getting it. We're just maybe not getting enough stops.
Yeah, I felt like, we have to stop the run in the WBL. That's number one. If you ain't going to stop the run in the WBL, you don't have a shot, right? Every team's going to come in. Their number one objective is going to be to run the football. So you got to be able to stop that, and you got to be able to combat that, and you got to get off the field on third downs. And the other thing is you have to be tough in this league. Okay. And, the toughness isn't going to beat a kid up in the street fight, but you got to be mentally and just gritty tough in this league because you're going to face a lot of kids and a lot of programs that have great coaches and really just tough blue collar kids. And, that's a sign. We had some of that, but we didn't have enough of that. We didn't have enough of that mental fortitude when it's 3rd and 3 to bow our neck and go stop that play for, a 0-yard gain. So, that's where I kind of knew a little bit. We were, being some dog fights with Celina, Defiance, and Walpock and St. Mary's and Van Wert, and Shawnee. And we had to find that a little bit, and we just didn't have enough of it, I felt like. So that's something we've been trying to build as well. But also you can't lose kids to injuries either. And that's, we had Schriner was a great football team last year. They were physical and they were tough. And, we lost a few kids in that game, and that, definitely hindered us the next couple of games. Not saying that we would have won games or anything like that, but it definitely slowed us down.
Yeah, it doesn't help having 3 of 5 against the toughest 5 teams in the league the last handful of years be on the road, especially you got to go to Van Wert, Walpock, and Celina in that group. But how much do things like that, maybe the bus ride home, how much do you think that maybe kind of helps your younger kids who are multiple year starters kind of grow? And kind of do you see that on the bus of maybe they're trying to pick up the younger kids and not let it become a cultural thing of, hey, we just accept losing?
Oh, for sure. This senior class is not going to accept losing. Unfortunately, I felt like sometimes we accepted losing in the past, and that was the hardest thing. Growing up in a program led by Coach Bonk and Coach Fackler, you competed in everything you did, and you did not accept losing. It didn't matter if it was marbles. It didn't matter if it was basketball. I mean, I remember playing basketball, Coach Bonk as a young coach, and there's times, your lips would be bloody or your nose would be bloody, and if you back down, you were gonna have to take it on, and you couldn't back down. It was just you were gonna go compete. And it carried over to our players. And that's one thing I felt like we lost. And it was like, okay, well, we lost. The sun's going to come up tomorrow. Well, it's not the answer you're looking for when you're a competitor. Yeah, the sun's going to come up tomorrow, but that stuff stinks. That stuff stinks, right? You don't want, and, that's where our senior class this year, if it's in, like, we've had some really good practices, competitive practices, and if the offense isn't winning, our Corbin and our offense guys are mad, and they're letting it be known. And if our defense isn't winning, Jaden and our defensive guys, they're fired up, and that kind of stuff translates, and that kind of stuff is the behaviors you want, because now our younger kids are seeing it, and our younger kids are now competing, and our younger kids want to win. And a couple of our younger classes, they have had really successful middle school careers, and that helps a lot coming to the high school, because unfortunately, a couple of the other classes that graduated, their middle school careers weren't as good. And, it kind of got beaten down at a young age. And then it became, okay, well, it's okay. It's happened before. And these guys, it's not that culture. It's not that situation. It's, we're going to win. This is the expectation. So that's definitely been a huge piece. And that's been something that's really good to see. One thing that we talk about a lot is the standard of a program, and the standard is best. And, you give your best in every single thing you do. And that's what you're driving for. And then another thing we talk about is the will to win. And when you have the will to win, you believe that no matter what, you're going to come out on top. And we've been hammering those things for, quite some time now, and it's starting to see it kind of pay off.
Top 5 in the league last year go 45-19. They all make the playoffs. Celina and Bath sneak in as well. What does that tell people from the outside about how good the WBL is? Because I feel like there's kind of a misconception of, it's not the big, powerful league that it's been in the past. It sure looks like it to me every Friday night.
Oh, I don't think anyone who says that understands or is around football, high school football, enough to make that comment with any kind of conviction. You look at the coaches in this league and you look at the programs in this league, you're dealing with the top coaches in Northwest Ohio week in and week out. You're dealing with the top players in Northwest Ohio week in and week out. Braylon Gapes is probably one of the best players I ever coached against. And he was playing quarterback, running back. He was the one that rolled up safeties, and just watching the plays he makes week in and week out, was unbelievable. You look at, St. Mary's, sometimes they roll out defensive guys that just are unbelievable instinctually. They've had great ones through the years. You look at Walpock and the talent they're producing, and you look at Coach Moyer's track record. You look at, Bose grew up in a program at St. Mary's. He understands what, St. Mary's football is. You look at, other guys like Coach Cooper at Defiance, who's had a great career. Coach Schriner. I mean, anyone can sit there and look at Coach Schreiner's career and say, this is a Hall of Fame coach. You're just dealing with great programs and great coaches and great players week in and week out. And there's not a single program or single conference besides the MAC that can even stand up or stack up to what the WBL is.
How weird is it to look at your schedule for this year and see somebody other than Coldwater on the front line?
Yeah, it's a little different. I love playing Coldwater as a competitor. I think they gave us a great measuring stick. You knew you were coaching against a great coach and a great program with a lot of tradition. But unfortunately, that's not where we are. So, our focus is completely on Eastwood, and Eastwood's no slouch. They are a top-notch program. A few years back, they won a state title. They have a great tradition-rich program that's won a lot of games and made a lot of deep runs. And they've had good coaches, and Hall of Fame coaches come through there. And they have great athletes and great players. Maybe they're not quite as long or, as lengthy as the Coldwater kids, because there's not many kids that walk around Northwest Ohio that look like some of the Marion local and Coldwater kids, but they have great players and they have a great tradition. And when they come to Kenton on August 23rd, they're going to bring everything they got to win the football game.
4 of your 5 offensive linemen, just losing Gavin Markwell, but you've got all 38 Wilkinson kids back, and then you've got the duo of Corbin Johnston and Grady Kleeman-Beasley. How dangerous can that set be this year for Kenton?
We have some good players. We have some kids that we're really excited about, and Corbin and Grady and Bill and Bob are, in that group. But it's going to come down to our defense, and I've been really happy with our defense. And that's going to be, everyone looks at Kenton football and they see the 5-wide offense and they see all those things, but what they don't understand is our defense has been the backbone of our program for a long time. And there's a lot of games that we've won 7-6, and a lot of games we won 6-0, and a lot of games we won 13-12. And it's because our defense is the backbone of our program, and that's where our toughness and that's where our, that little grit comes from. So, yes, they're great players, and I'm expecting big things from them offensively, but really, our team and our backbone of our programs and our defense, and Corbin can't do what he needs to do without getting the ball back, and Bill and Bob can't block the guys they need to do without getting the ball back. So that's a big point for us this year is our defense and what we're expecting out of them. But we're expecting big things out of Corbin and Grady and Bill and Bob. And Bill and Corbin have been outstanding leaders. They've been 2 of the best leaders I've ever been a part of coaching, and I'm super happy with those 2.
Being a Kenton grad and being the head of this program, what does it mean to you? You walk through those doors at that field every night that has seen so many big things, especially on Friday night when it's lit up. What's that going to mean to you when you get to kick off with Eastwood?
Oh, I'm so incredibly lucky and blessed to be in the situation I'm in. Coming back in this program and coaching and having the opportunity to coach with great coaches, like I said before. I have two really big mentors, and one's Coach Moore, who's my defensive back coach. The other is Matt Best, who's the offense coordinator at Finley, who's offense coordinator at Kenton for a lot of years, and they've taught me so much, and they've taught me how to be a coach. Being able to come back and start as I was a defensive back assistant coach for Coach Moore for a few years, and then I ended up being an outside linebacker coach. Then I ended up helping with the offense for a year, and then I became the offense coordinator. And just coming up through that and doing a little bit of everything, and being able to be in the situation I'm in, and watching our kids go to work every day, and watching our program constantly improve, and watching our kids' behaviors improve, and seeing all that, it motivates you every single day, and it makes you want to get better, and it makes you want to, like I said, get that standard of what a Kent football program is supposed to be back. And that's what our goal is. And, our kids have definitely been working towards that, but I'm extremely lucky. I'm extremely blessed. And, I couldn't have done this without my wife and my family. And, that's the biggest part for me, like to do a job like this. And I'm sure every WBL head coach will tell you, you have a great family behind you and a great group of people behind you. So I'm incredibly, happy and blessed to have the wife I have and the kids I have and the coaching staff I have.
Well, thank you so much. I always enjoy our conversations. I wish you guys nothing but the best luck this year.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I appreciate it.
That's Zach Turner. We're talking Kenton football. If you're looking for an award-winning service and parts department with a distinguished history in the community, look no further than Lee Kinsel Sales and Service at 650 West Irvin Road in Van Wert. Are you seeking a new Chevy, Buick, or GMC, or pre-owned vehicle? Then be sure to check out our website at leekinsel.com or drive over today to Van Wert and see why we guarantee the best service after the sale you can find. That's Lee Kinsel Sales and Service at 650 West Irvin Road in Van Wert, Ohio, or online at leekinsel.com. Chevrolet, together, let's drive. Last year, one of the best years in quite a while for the Celina Bulldogs. Talking now to the WBL co-coach of the year and Celina head coach Brennen Bader. And heck of a year for you guys last year.
Yeah, first, thanks for having me. And the 2023, it was quite the experience, and certainly something that we're all proud of. And the seniors that graduated, they'll have those memories forever. And for the guys that we got coming back, now it's just something to build on. Now that hopefully there's a belief that they can do special things, as it's been proven.
You guys go through that tremendous playoff run, obviously the heartbreak in that Watterson game in the state semis. Just kind of throughout the course of the year, as you're going along, was there a point, or was it kind of, we can always do it with this group, where you went, this is a really special team. We're really going to do some damage this year?
Yeah, it really started, in all honesty, in 2021, we were 1-9 at the end of the year. So, you never want that. But with that group, and particularly those younger guys, a lot of those at the time sophomores, really just like their approach to the game, their willingness to work. They treated each other well. They were great teammates, and there was some talent mixed in there. They were just really, really young. And we felt like we had something coming with that group, at least to build on. And the following year, when they were juniors, the class above them did a really good job of kind of leading in a really positive way. And I think those juniors then in 22 really just picked up the torch the next year with that momentum of going, winning 6 games, getting into the playoffs, having some success, getting it kind of turned around. So it really started then, but I would say during the year last year, we opened with Versailles, and they've been a challenge as of late when we've played them, and they handed it to us once again. We weren't ready to play. We didn't coach them well enough going into that game. And but we felt the next week, St. Mary's coming to town. Obviously, you don't need much motivation to get up for that. And our kids really just responded well. And you could just kind of see a spark after that game, a sense of confidence and So we really, that game and then the Van Wert game, when we went to Van Wert and won a tough one, those two games coming out of the weeks 2 and 3 last year, we felt we potentially had something, and and we did, thankfully, and it was just an awesome year to remember. It was such a blur, but hopefully now the current seniors in 24, they've had quite the experiences the last 2 years of going through that and knowing how to maybe handle success. So, we're really excited about 24th, proud as we are of last year. Now everything's about, the next day, obviously, coach to speak, the cliche saying, but we're really excited about what this year might bring too.
How much, and I realize that you guys had this going into your game plan of being able to utilize Gabus's sort of Swiss Army knife, that he does everything, but the difference between kind of what you try to do a little bit in the opener with Versailles to having him in so many different positions, kind of at times confusing St. Mary's and going forward, doing it to a lot of other teams. Was that a big switch from week 1 to 2, or was it just kind of, okay, this is really going to work. He's got that confidence. Let's go.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. You want to find, how do you get your playmakers to football, and obviously he was a playmaker, and one way to create more touches for him was to kind of use him as a kind of a wildcat quarterback, I guess you could call it. And it just seemed to work. And it worked because, yes, he's very gifted. He had a very high football IQ, his willingness to win and make plays, but it was the guys in front of him as well. So we put a premium on being able to run the ball no matter who that is over the last 2 years, and we'll continue to do so. So I think getting him the ball, gave our team some confidence, somebody to kind of maybe lean on. But we had other weapons as well that were able to run the ball behind that offensive line. So we're only as good as those linemen up front. So, but certainly taking nothing away from Braylon, he was about as special a player as, that I've been able to be around and coached.
You go through the year, you guys go 12-3. You have what I would call gray hair, no hair games during the playoffs, because either you're getting a lot of gray hair or you're just losing all your hair. I mean, that slugfest with Trotwood in the second round had to be you looking at the scoreboard at the end, seeing all zeros, asking somebody, hey, are we good now? They don't have any more time. I mean, to that, that point, you go back and forth. You have the turnovers with Watterson in the game you end up losing. You have that game with Baden where I would think having seen them play Wapak would have helped you out a little bit. But, I mean, you're pretty much the cat with 9 lives, I think, during that playoff run.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's we had a group of kids, including kids we have returning that, football and in life, you have a lot of adversity. Things aren't going to always kind of go your way. And during those games and moments in those games when stuff didn't go right, I think we were down 2 scores to Trotwood in the second round, and we shut them out the second half and scored 3 times. Typically it was a close game, came down to a couple special teams plays that really turned the tide in that game. And then certainly the Baden game, the perennial kind of powerhouse really in the region. And, it's kind of back and forth early, and in the fourth quarter, we were able to kind of grit that out. So it just takes, it takes a collective belief from the players that they can get it done, and they just got to go out and do it. And when that adversity or bad plays happen or whatever, you got to be able to overcome that mentally. And that's always a challenge every year for our kids is can we handle the bad times? The easy times are easy. It's when things don't go well, how do you respond to that? And that group of seniors last year, and even the group that's going to be seniors this year, when a lot of them played as freshmen, they've seen the lows and they've gone through it, and so they've literally came from the bottom and kind of reached the top, so to speak. Now we just hope that we can kind of sustain that is really the goal going into 2024. I don't know what that equates to in wins and losses, but we just take it day by day and just try to get better each day, and hopefully we learned a lot from the last several years.
Rivalry games are always kind of a fascinating thing, and you guys pretty much, you just go up and down the line with the WBL the way it is. But do you like having, say, a St. Mary's in week 2 of, hey, we better get right out of the gate because of the way our league is, 1 or 2 losses and you're done? Or, I mean, I know it rotates, but do you like having it in the front, in the back, or does it really matter?
I think the rivalry, it'd be neat to see it always be week 10. I think, I think that'd be pretty neat if they could ever do that, but that's just not the way it is, and that's okay. And we're happy to play them whenever, and it just happens to be early in the schedule. So, I think it can be exciting as well being early. The first league game, and you better be ready to go because I know they're going to be really good, and they're going to be extremely hungry after last year. So we better be able to strap it on and be ready to play week 2.
When you look at week 1, it's such an oddity in that a lot of teams are kind of bouncing back and forth and changing what week 1 is. You guys really go completely out of the box with South being from Columbus for week 1 this year before you get to St. Mary's. I mean, how did that one kind of come about? Because that's not like a traditional sort of area partner for a lot of schools.
No, it's not. And it's just a bridge year. We had to find a 1-year contract with somebody that was, willing to come our way so we could get a home game so we could get 5 and 5 in terms of 5 home and 5 away. And they were willing to do so. It was kind of a 1.5, 2-year kind of project to find a team that's willing to travel just 1 year and be the visiting team. So that's what it ended up being. I think last spring or maybe late winter, they agreed. And so that's who we play week 1. They'll certainly be a challenge, very athletic. I believe they made the playoffs last year. And, so they're going to have some guys that can certainly play. And then we'll have a new week 1 opponent in 2025 with St. Henry.
It's nice. St. Henry's just going around the WBL right now. You've got your run to the WBL. I mean, you guys gas up the bus in a 5-week span. The only time you're home is with Bath in the middle of the year. You go to Kenton, Elida, OG, and Defiance. How do you see the WBL? I mean, those kind of games that may break or make your season, I would think.
Yeah, I don't even worry about the middle of the schedule. Obviously our focus is at the beginning. We know who we play. It's the WBL, who you're playing each week, and as it's always on that 2-year rotation. So I don't really know. I think there's a lot of teams that were young and that have a lot of guys back, across the board. So I think it's going to be very challenging WBL this year. Certainly looking at St. Mary's, you got to think they're going to be maybe the favorites, and you got, their neighbors to the east, Walpock, who's there every single year. So I know those 2 teams, and Bath looks like they're returning a lot of guys. Defiance is always tough. I mean, you go up and down the list, there's key guys on every roster this year. So it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be extremely tough, and you just got to take it day by day, week by week, and do the best you can preparing them, and hopefully when it comes to Friday night, we're able to execute just a little bit better than our opponent.
I would think at this point, I mean, you've been around long enough that you just kind of look up and down the schedule of, I'll get to that nightmare when I get to it.
That's exactly it. If we worry about, we just try to stay focused 1 week at a time. And I know that's the most boring thing to kind of hear coaches say, and you hear it all the time when we watch, college football and pro football. That's all they talk about is the next game. But it's so true that if you start focusing on things way down the road, there's so many variables that can happen in between that time that you have no control over. So it's just about trying to get better every day, learn from the previous game, win or lose, and see if you can put a little bit better team on the field the next Friday. And that's all we can really do. We hope for the best, and we'll let the chips fall where they may.
Well, I hope you guys have a great season, and thank you again so much for doing this.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
That's Brennen, the head coach at Celina. We've got more in the WBL as we roll along.
Are you ready for an adventure? Experience the Midwest's only drive-through safari park located in Port Clinton, Ohio. Go to www.africansafariwildlifepark.com for more information.
Thanks for sticking with us here on Around the Herd. A big thanks to Zach Turner, Frank Russell, Ken Schriner, Brennen Bader, and Bo Frye for lending me some of their time. Such a good group of dudes. And again, on the way out, big prayers for Cale Wenning's entire family, the Coldwater community as well. Wear your black, wear your orange, and get out to high school football. Find me on Twitter, at Michael Hearn PBP. Have a great night and an even better tomorrow. Stay safe and be good to one another.
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Around the Hearn. Come back next week for more local stories from the NWO. But until then, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Michael Hearn PBP for more great area content.